everyone, Tiffany here with A Crafty Home, and today would normally be a Top 5 Wednesday, but today's topic is one that I didn't have 5 things for. I couldn't even think of one, and it was a series that end badly, and like I know Divergent does, or most people say it does, but I don't know how it ends yet because I haven't even read Divergent, and although I'm filming this at a time and I am going to pick up Divergent next, I believe, and so I may have finished it by the time this video films. But anyway, so since I did not have anything for that, I decided to do a different sort of top number video, and that is going to be the top books of 2014 for me. I know it is March, and I know I am way behind. I have, however, had my list. This is not my top books, this is my books I rated 5 stars, then I kind of put little things by the one. So I'm not quite sure how many. There'll be 1, 2, no, not that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Anyway, there will be some. And yeah, so let's get on with it. I will tell you my top books of 2014. This was so very, very difficult, and there's probably so many more, but let's just go down this list. These are in no particular order because I cannot pick my absolute favorite. I look at this list and I think, oh, that one, oh no, that one, oh no, that one. Well, I can kind of say, maybe by the time I'm done talking about them, I'll have an answer. So the first one is The Selection. I believe I only read The Selection in 2014. I finished the series in 2015. So The Selection by Kiera Cass. I love that story. I love it, I love it, I love it. I watched somebody's review the other day and they said that there was a lot of like bad reviews for it, and I personally haven't heard any bad reviews. I can see why some people wouldn't enjoy it though, but for me it was just the perfect love story, and I love how she kind of based it, like the story of Esther in the Bible really made her think about like how it would be to have to be chosen as queen, and because that's kind of what happens in Esther. Like there's this whole group of girls who are being considered to be chosen for the queen, and obviously it's nothing like it's not exactly like The Selection, but there are some things that are quite similar, and so I found that very fascinating, and I just loved it. It was just such a lighthearted read. I can't wait for the Heir to come out. I do have it pre-ordered, and I've been following Kiera Cass, and I love following her. She's a mom who's really followed her dreams and hit, you know, got national bestseller, and just amazing, you know, to think of that. Like it makes me stop and think, what are my dreams? And I could hit them, and if she can do it while she still has young kids, so can I. And that just is really inspiring to me. And she's also a Christian, and she posts a lot of sweet things, and I don't know, I just have a special place in my heart for her. So yes, there's one of them. Let's see. So the second one I want to mention is the Throne of Glass series. So each one of those, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire. I really enjoyed that series. I would say it was pretty much my first foray into fantasy of any kind, and I loved it. Obviously it was YA fantasy. My first adult fantasy is Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which I'm sure will be on one of my top lists for this year, 2015. But nevertheless, I read those. I loved them. Throne of Glass, I really enjoyed, probably because it was, I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it as much as the rest of them. I've heard a lot of people say that they read it and they didn't understand all the hype. I think for me, the reason I read it and just loved it was because it was my first fantasy. So it kind of held, I didn't have anything else to compare it to, if that makes sense, for other fantasies, and so I just really enjoyed it. I think it's probably why I enjoyed it more, although I didn't get as attached to the characters. I would say Crown of Midnight or Heir of Fire are my favorite for different reasons. Like Crown of Midnight, I really, really enjoyed because of the love interests in that one and the things you find out. And yeah, I would say like right after reading all 3, I would have said Crown of Midnight, absolute favorite, because I felt more attached to the characters. But then Heir of Fire, like the more I look back on the series, like Heir of Fire for me when I was reading, I was like, oh, it was kind of slow. I didn't like certain parts of it, but now looking back and hear other people talk about it, I'm like, oh, I really did like that about that. So now I would probably say Heir of Fire is my favorite out of the 3. Regardless, that was one of my favorites from last year. This is a book that not many people have heard of. I'm going to try to post you know, cover photos. Some of these I don't own, and then others I just don't feel like grabbing them off my shelf. Lazy. So anyway, the next one is Hidden Wives by Claire Avery. I believe I did a review on this. I'll try to remember to link it or annotate it. Actually, I'll try to annotate all of the reviews if I remember for the ones I've done. I haven't done reviews on a lot of these, which is funny because they're like my favorite books, and I don't think I didn't do very many reviews last year. I'm trying to do more. Anyway, Hidden Wives by Claire Avery is a book about a cult, a Mormon cult, like a sect of Mormonism. Yeah, Mormonism. That, or no, was it even Mormonism? No, it was just a religious sect, I believe. I'm trying to remember. But they, yeah, just this girl trying to escape from it, you know, obviously where they had a bunch of wives and they had this like leader dude who was supposed to know who you were supposed to marry, and she was really pretty, and so he was trying to marry her even though he was like way older, but she loved this other kid, and trying to run away from that, and how hard it was. It's not a true story, but the people in it came from a background that is not that extreme, but is kind of like that, and so they have more insight, I would say, into it. It was really fascinating. Oh, I said authors, but I only wrote them down. I think it has 2 authors. I can't remember. But anyway, I give that, well, obviously, all of these books I gave 5 out of 5 stars. But if you haven't read it and it sounds interesting to you, totally pick it up. It's rarely talked about. It's just an adult contemporary, I would say, but it's really, really good. Highly recommend it. Next is a nonfiction book, and that was The Hardest Piece by Kara Tippett. Kara Tippett is somebody who, she's a mom of 3. She's probably around my age, in her 30s, I think. Maybe a little older, but very similar in age to me, and she has cancer. She ended up, I believe, with brain cancer to start, no, breast cancer to start with. I can't remember. See, horrible memory. But this is about her journey walking through that and dealing with that, and you know how she walks through those hard circumstances. It's amazing. It's a very, very good book. I really recommend it. She is still struggling. She's actually on hospice care at the moment, and they had to actually like deliver a hospital bed to her house, and she's on all these meds, and she's not expected to make it much longer, so she may not even make it through this year. You can look her up and read her blog and see how she's doing. It's very sad, but reading about her story and her perspective through all of this, it was really encouraging. It's a really good book. I did cry several times, however. Now on to a more lighthearted note. The next one, and I would say that this is probably my favorites for this year, like #1. Although I'm cheating and saying a whole series and sort of picking one out of that, and that would be the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I read Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress all last year. I love them all so much. Oh, just so much. I have no words. Every book just got better than the last one, and I cannot wait for the conclusion of the series coming out this year. I have pre-ordered it, and I am planning on doing a buddy read already. I've already planned that with Amy C. Books. I know I will read all of these again this year because I want it, just read it all back to back to back. I'm so excited for it. So yes, that was by far, if you don't know, they're retellings kind of fairy tales, but they all go together in this whole world. And so the first one, Cinder, is obviously about Cinderella, who is a cyborg. And then #2 is about Scarlet, although Cinder's still in it. Cinder's still a main character. Like, it just adds more of them. So Scarlet is like Little Red Riding Hood, and then Cress is like Rapunzel. And so their individual stories, you know, kind of follow those, like their backstories are very similar to those fairy tales, but they're all working together to try to get out of this horrible situations with Queen Lavana, who is very much like the the one that looks in the mirror on the wall. What is that from? Is that Sleeping Beauty? I can't think of it right now. Anyway, so yes, very good series. I highly recommend it. I'm sure you'll hear a ton about it this year since winter is coming out. Next I have The Antelope in the Living Room by Melanie Schenkel. Melanie Schenkel writes a blog called Big Mama, I believe, which is kind of funny because she's super duper skinny, but that's what her daughter calls her. This is her second book. I've read her first one, which is Big Sparkly Green Earrings, I believe is the title. They're just short books. I think she has a new one out already, which I can't wait to get my hands on. So her first book was about life with her daughter and life being a new mom and just hilarious stories. She is super duper funny. Like, I bust up so many times in her books. And so her second one was about marriage. It's called The Antelope in the Living Room because her husband had some sort of, was it an antelope? I don't think it was. I think it was some other thing, and they were fighting over it. She's like, get that antelope out of here. And he's like, not an antelope. But anyway, but it's just a hilarious look on marriage. She is so funny. I cannot explain to you how funny she is. So that was definitely one of my favorites. And the last one is also a nonfiction, and that was I keep going like this. And that was No Greatness Without Goodness by Randy Lewis. This is a nonfiction. He is not the CEO. Was he the CEO? High up in Walgreens, and talks about how they, like, life with his son who had some sort of mental handicap, and working with Walgreens to make a way for handicapped people to be paid a fair wage if they work for them and be treated just like everybody else. It's an excellent story, an excellent book. I really, really enjoyed it, even though I'm not like in the business world, which is probably kind of where it's marketed for. It was really good. So yeah, those are my top books of 2014, and like I said, Lunar Chronicles takes the cake, I think, for last year. So let me know what your favorite books of 2014 were, and until next time, I will chat with y'all later. Bye!